You can't meditate yourself out of a bad friendship. On the previous episode, I talked about this concept of the darker side of self help. People have used or have kind of avoided their own personal responsibility, all in the sake of personal growth. However, there is another aspect to it when it comes to friendship. Oftentimes, you will find that there's an expectation for one person to be more tolerant and flexible and also accepting of mistreatment, while this other person should always be on the receptive end of a good quality, solid standing, consistent friendship, regardless of how they're showing up. A lot of times the self-awareness is put on one person versus it being reciprocal. And while personal development is necessary for growth, personal development is necessary to have better relationships, there's a big difference between getting better to find better and to exist in better versus healing yourself into a very unhealthy dynamic. We think that, well, if I meditate on this, if I self-reflect, if I do the deep work, then that in turn will change this relationship. But a relationship does not change if both people are not looking to make changes. One person is doing the personal development work and they're actually healing, well, it's just them. While somebody else benefits from the work that they are doing and the consistency that they keep showing up with. All right, society has definitely forced some people to gaslight their experiences, and instead of recognizing, hey, I may need to have a boundary, or maybe this relationship is not healthy for me, they're told, well, you should have more compassion. You should practice more empathy. Everybody's going through something. Okay, real friends would understand. However, that friendship or that statement or even that responsibility is not reciprocal. So therefore, people will exist or endure or stay in relationships a lot longer than they should have. When it comes to friendship, especially since society does not prioritize friendship in such a way, it is your responsibility to always make sure you are friends with the person who is a friend to you too, not just somebody you are eager to be a friend to. Too often people are expecting of a certain level of relationship standard that they don't possess, they don't provide, but also they don't take care of. And when we have that imbalance, eventually somebody does get hurt. It is not typically the person that's hurting everybody else. So it's important for you to recognize if you are the one that's always apologizing when certain things happen, right? You are always the one that's looking at the deeper meaning. Okay. The people who deserve the benefit of the doubt rarely ever need it. Okay. I heard that quote once and it has stuck with me forever. If you continue to give a person a pass or the benefit of the doubt, that means you start to doubt yourself. You start to dismiss your own experiences and you also start to doubt your own self-worth. Friendships are based on mutual support and affection for one another. Otherwise, it just becomes a very parasitic relationship where one person is the host and the other person is the parasite, feeding off of what this person has created for themselves. It's one thing to care about people. It's another thing to be in relationship with the people that we care about. And not everybody that we care about, we are meant to be in connection with because they themselves don't know how to take care of the connection. And there is a difference between a season that we go through where we are falling on rough times versus a constant steady state or the dynamic of the relationship altogether always being one person sustaining it while the other person benefits from it. Truth be told, the more inner work you do, the more healing you actually do, the more you'll be cognizant of what's happening and what's being done to you. See, sometimes we think that we have to be so forgiving and we have to be so understanding because that also prevents us from making an uncomfortable choice, for saying things out loud, for being disliked, for having this person be mad at us. Overlooking, hey, how have I been treated to this point to even have anything to say in the first place? How have I been feeling? Okay, do I feel like I'm being supported and do I feel like I'm being cared for or do I feel like I'm being taken advantage of? Pay attention to how energized you feel with this person, how vitalized or how depleted you typically feel. And something I want you to also recognize too is when you are thinking about this person, where do you feel it in your body? Is this nervousness that you get? Is it a certain level of tenseness that you have? Or do you actually look forward to spending time with this individual? We don't talk about it enough, but abuse and misuse and mistreatment can very much exist in friendships because it's still two people, okay, with the history and capabilities to be very human. So just because it's not a romantic partnership, just because it's not a family dynamic, doesn't mean that abuse doesn't take place there. And if you are so eager to be a good friend to other people or show people how good of a person you can be, I want you to ask yourself, how bad are you willing to be treated to make sure that other people can see that? Because truth be told, a lot of people know exactly what they can get from you. That's why they keep showing up to you. It's not a mystery. But also sometimes we are teaching people that we are willing to tolerate a certain level of negligence from them and also a certain level of low effort, if you will, from them. And we will still give them everything that we have. The foundation of friendship is mutuality. So when there's a lack of mutuality, that is an indicator that maybe it's not a friendship at all. A quid pro quo is not the same thing as reciprocity. You can know the difference between somebody who's actually making a point to extend effort, to extend care, okay, consideration and intention, versus someone who just uses those words to weaponize their negligence or how they are treating you. If you're actually doing the work to improve, you will find an incongruence in these relationships. I'm not being a good friend to myself. So be a little bit more honest about what you are doing. Are you trying to understand how you can better tolerate this behavior? Or is there actually space for you to be more understanding and more compassionate? And what's the cutoff? Again, if you are always the one that's apologizing, if you are always the one that has to fix the relationship or has to be the voice of reason, then that might indicate that this isn't a friendship. You do not have to be a friend to someone who is not being a friend to you. Remember, relationships are not charity, they are choice. So if someone is not choosing to learn how to treat you better, if someone is not choosing to understand that their relationship with you is contingent on their own character and their own efforts, then maybe that's not the relationship for you. And we got to get out of the habit of calling people friends just because we have an extended history with them. Sometimes the reason why you have so much history with another person is because you have been willing to show up time and time again after they have failed you in one way or another. To have compassion for a person also means the ability to have compassion for yourself. To have empathy for another person also means you have the empathy for yourself. And be very honest about why you are existing in this relationship. Is it a codependent connection? Okay, do you fear not having them in your life? And if you do fear that, what have they contributed to your life? Okay, how do they make effort to repair the connection? How supported do you feel in this dynamic? And you get to be very honest because that's the only way you're going to have a very honest relationship in return. So understand, no matter how much self-work you do, you will undo all of it if you continue to exist in relationships with people who are not respectful, who are not reciprocal, who are not responsible, and who are not intentional about how they impact people, but also how they are looking to take care of others. So take care of yourselves, okay? Take care of your relationships and take care of each other. And most of all, take flight.